The year I was purest in love, I did something to make sure the boy I secretly adored would remember me. I always kept my scores just fractionally ahead of his, making him settle for second place in our year for 3 whole years. He got desperate. He asked me out, hoping to disrupt my focus. I smiled sweetly and agreed, then beat him to the punch and dumped him first. Good news, he'd definitely never forget me now. Bad news. Years later, I applied for a job, and he was the interviewer. He flicked my resume aside. This one's no good. Next. When Wesley Westwood really knew how to hold a grudge, I just smiled and gave a polite little bow. Seeing him today was an unexpected bonus, really. So I wasn't discouraged by the rejection. I turned to leave. Wait! The voice behind me sounded like it came through gritted teeth. Is this the extent of Miss Sterling's determination to join our company? A faint flush, born of irritation, crept up Wesley Westwood's cool face, diminishing some of his mature, imposing aura. Why was he still so easily ruffled, just like back in high school? He couldn't keep his composure. Of course not. My desire to join the company is incredibly strong. This is the opportunity I've dreamed of, I said, my eyes brimming with sincerity. Wesley snorted but said nothing more. The rest of the interview was handled by the other interviewer. I was well prepared naturally and answered every question smoothly. Just as it looked like my hiring was a sure thing, Wesley jumped in again. Miss Sterling, are you aware of the position you're interviewing for? I nodded. Yes, secretary to the CEO. The cold smirk on Wesley's lips deepened. Didn't you check who the CEO was before coming? Seeing how much it bothered him, I couldn't resist teasing him. Oh, I did. I just thought it was someone with the same name. I didn't expect it to actually be my ex. I watched Wesley's lips press into a thin line, the veins on the arm resting casually on the table starting to pop. I slowly finished the sentence. Deskmate? The look Wesley gave me could have started a fire. The other interviewer sensed the tension between us and wiped a bead of sweat from his temple. Miss Stella Sterling, your resume is very impressive. Please go home and wait for our notification. Hire her, Wesley decided abruptly, enunciating each word. My former deskmate deserves some special consideration. I wasn't flustered at all. Instead, I gave him a little wink. Thank you. As soon as I stepped out of the office and rounded the corner, Wesley caught up to me. Aren't you curious why I picked you? I replied without a hint of blush. Of course, it's because I'm exceptionally qualified. Wesley sputtered. Stella Sterling, you're just as cocky as you always were. I stopped and gave him a meaningful look. What else could it be? Surely not because someone wants to rekindle an old flame, right? Ex-boyfriend? Wesley's face instantly darkened. Don't flatter yourself. I chose you solely to get back at you, to make you miserable. Stella Sterling, I'm giving you one last chance. You can choose not to take the job. He lifted his chin high, that familiar proud look on his face. But my mind flashed back to memory of him, pleading humbly. Even the proud Wesley Westwood had once bowed his head to me, asking, Please don't break up with me. Wesley mistook my momentary daze for hesitation. His fingers tightened slightly, but his words remained sharp. If you're scared, then don't come near me again. I sighed with a small smile. Wesley Westwood, you haven't changed either. I reached the company entrance without elaborating. Wesley was clearly annoyed. Haven't changed how? I waved goodbye with a mysterious smile. Unblock me, and I'll tell you. Wesley had blocked me on every platform imaginable. He hadn't even spared my music streaming profile. The day we broke up, he even took it out on the virtual chickens on my game farm. And this was the guy who used to call himself their loving father. When I didn't have time to feed them, he'd sneak his phone into school just to clean their coop and fill their feeders for me. Hardly typical behavior for the academically gifted, second-ranked student in our year. Don't be fooled by the CEO persona Wesley projects now, having taken over the family business. In high school, he was a stickler for the rules, honest to the point of being almost naive. The only time he ever used his family's influence was to get me moved to be his deskmate. In our honors class, where boys and girls didn't usually share desks, we stood out quite a bit. But no one objected, because I was ranked number 1. No one suspected puppy love, including me. I knew Wesley was trying to figure out my secrets. He was intensely curious how a girl from a small town had managed to steal his coveted top spot. He was determined to steal it back, and I couldn't stand him. 2 reasons. 1, His family was rich and I resented the wealthy. 2. He had this habit of looking down his nose at people when he spoke, incredibly arrogant and pretentious. That terrible first impression led me to treat Wesley with extreme indifference. Being naturally proud himself, Wesley wasn't about to chase after someone giving him the cold shoulder. Our only conversations revolved around test scores, and it was always Wesley who broke the silence first. "What did you get?" I'd tersely state my score, not expecting his reply. A proud humph meant he'd scored higher. A cold scoff meant our scores were the same. Silence meant his lips would tighten, the usual sparkle in his eyes would dim, and his sharp eyebrows would knit together. Wait, why was I watching him again? I subtly shifted my gaze away, gripping my pen tighter. The cunning second-rank student was trying to distract me with his good looks, and I absolutely would not fall for it. 3. Our lukewarm deskmate relationship continued like this, until the academic competition arrived. On the way back to class after submitting the registration forms, Wesley spoke with a touch of smugness. "Stella Sterling, you're certainly clever, but competitions like these require more than just talent. Experience is crucial. This time, I'll definitely beat you. The resources in my small town hadn't been the best, so I truly didn't have much competition experience from middle school." Wesley was proud, but not conceited. He had a point this time. However, when it came to academics, I was just as proud and never one to admit defeat easily. I gave a calm smile. "Since you're so confident, how about we make a bet? The loser has to grant the winner one request, nothing too unreasonable, of course." A flicker of hesitation crossed Wesley's proud face. He knew I wasn't an opponent to be underestimated. His gut told him it was a trap. I drew out my words slowly. "I never thought, Wesley Westwood, you were so scared of losing." If someone with lower scores had tried to provoke him like this, Wesley would have dismissed it as a cheap tactic. But coming from me, it instantly set him off. "Fine, it's a bet." He gritted his teeth. "Stella Sterling, you're finished." Funny, seemed like he couldn't stand me either. Later, when the competition results came out, both Wesley and I had won gold medals. We'd anticipated this possibility, so we had compared answers beforehand. Unfortunately for him, my score was just a tiny bit higher than his. He was right, experience was important. If I'd had as much experience as him, I definitely would have scored even higher. Despite the gold medal, Wesley looked furious. He couldn't stand it for another day, eager to pay his dues for the bet and forget the humiliation. "What request do you want me to fulfill?" "Spit it out." I pretended not to understand. "What request?" "Oh, right, the bet we made." "But why would you be fulfilling my request?" It was nearing the lunch break, and the tree-lined path was mostly deserted. Wesley was silent for a moment, then suddenly seemed to give up. He yelled really loudly, "Because I lost, okay?" I desperately wanted to burst out laughing, but seeing how utterly devastated Wesley looked, I managed with great effort to hold it in. Clearing my throat, I said, "Easy there, little dub, you don't get so worked up." "Who are you calling little W?" "I'm 3 months older than you." Wesley completely lost it. Okay, how about Big W then?" Oops, my mouth worked faster than my brain. Wesley flushed red all the way to the roots of his hair. "I didn't mean anything by it." I tried to explain. It only made things worse. Wesley lowered his proud head, his voice softening a little. "Just, what do you want?" This was getting awkward. I didn't feel quite so inclined to tease him anymore. "Actually, it's nothing much. I just wanted to see you. Pretend to shoot an air basketball." Some of the guys in our class loved doing that move. Whenever they did, Wesley would look at them like they were a bunch of idiots. I happened to agree with him. So my request was purely intended to mess with him. After all, I'd always found him rather irritating. Sure enough, Wesley turned beet red. Afraid I'd pushed him too far, I finally relented. "If you really don't want to, then forget it." He glared at me. "I keep my word. A bet's a bet." Wesley loosened his joints, jumped up, and made a shooting gesture. His movements were clean and crisp, not showy at all. He smoothed his collar, pretending nothing had happened. Then he added fiercely, "Don't tell anyone." Just like a little peacock. In that moment, unnoticed, the seed of a crush silently took root. For first day on the job, I deliberately stepped into the office with my left foot first. A cold snort greeted me. Late the night after the interview, my easily provoked ex-boyfriend had finally unblocked me. sending only a single period as a message. Before replying, I'd opened his social media feed and frantically screenshotted everything. After gathering all the intel I could, I generously enlightened him. Childish. I suppose I was being childish too. I just couldn't resist provoking Wesley. There was no response for a while, so I sent a tentative smiley face. Predictably, I was blocked again. Such a temper. To soothe my ex-boyfriend turned boss, I brought him a cup of warm, sweet milk. He took one sip and his face darkened. "You don't even know how to make coffee?" I smiled good-naturedly. "Well, I can pour this out and make you a fresh cup." He lowered his head and took another large gulp. "Don't let it happen again." After that, Wesley immersed himself in work. I felt a pang of disappointment. He promised to torture me, and this was it. After several hours of continuous work, I went to the break room for a breather. My friend from the company joined me. "Stella, did the CEO chew you out?" It seemed everyone was pretending to work hard while secretly observing the boss. Wesley's dark expression hadn't gone unnoticed. My friend looked a bit guilty. "It's my fault. I saw how handsome the new CEO was that day and shared his picture with you. I didn't expect you to move so fast and jump ship immediately. Even someone like you, usually uninterested in romance, fell for our CEO, Tusk. I seized on the key phrase, "Even me." Wesley was handsome and rich. It was normal for many people to like him, but the word "fell for" suggested something more intense. My friend loved gossip. She'd been my source for all the university dish. This time was no different. She whispered, "The day after the CEO started, this Miss Langley showed up. Rumor has it she was with him the whole time he was studying abroad." I raised an eyebrow. "Who says? Is that reliable? Who else? Miss Langley herself." My friend had a complicated expression. She picked out a few good-looking employees and started telling them all about her history with the CEO abroad. "Like, who asked you?" It was like a dog marking its territory. By the end of the day, the whole company knew. Hearing this, my hand clenched into a fist. When I saw Wesley's picture that day, I just felt like fate wasn't done with us. This time, I didn't want to have regrets, so I came here. Before I came, I'd imagined many outcomes. Like Wesley discovering I'd joined the company, hating me so much he'd fire me on the spot. But among all those possibilities, none involved Wesley having someone else by his side. I returned to my desk, my heart feeling heavy, almost suffocating. 5. The low mood was only temporary. I quickly rallied my spirits. After all, I never gave up easily. Silently pulling out my phone, I calmly started slacking off. I scanned Wesley's social media screenshots carefully, bit by bit. Mostly late-night emo posts, occasionally some scenery shots. I couldn't find anyone resembling the supposed Miss Langley, not even a hint of another woman. Among the many posts, one stood out as odd. Wesley hadn't written anything, just posted a completely black picture. I thought for a moment, then slowly turned my phone's brightness all the way up. Dust like white specks gradually appeared, then began to glow. I froze. It was a picture of a starry sky. 2 soft taps on my desk startled me. Wesley had appeared behind me at some point. His eyes were unfriendly. "Secretary Sterling, slacking off on your first day?" Not just slacking off, I was also scrutinizing the boss. My first instinct was to quickly turn off the screen, but I stopped myself. The screenshot of Wesley's post remained boldly displayed. I apologized verbally, but my eyes were fixed directly on him. I was curious how he would react. Unexpectedly, Wesley just glanced briefly at the screen, his tone cool. "Next time, I'll dock your pay." I murmured a disappointed "oh." For the rest of the day, I worked listlessly. Wesley wasn't the type to notice other people's moods unless it was someone he cared about. Thinking about his indifference towards me all day, a sliver of doubt began to creep in. Yes, I really wanted to win him back, but I was more worried that persistent chasing would just make him despise me. Maybe his emotional reaction during the interview was just a fleeting moment. I sighed inwardly, not noticing my phone vibrate. It buzzed again, several times in quick succession, before I realized Wesley had unblocked me again. "Next time I'll dock it, not this time. Transfer 1,000. Go downstairs and buy me a coffee. While you're at it, sort out your mood, cheer up. Don't overthink it. I just don't want your low spirits affecting the overall office atmosphere." I felt instantly recharged, replying energetically. "Okay, do you need anything besides coffee?" From behind the closed blinds of his office, Wesley replied quickly. No, keep the change as an errand fee. Memory flashed back to years ago. Wesley saw me eating only 2 vegetable dishes for lunch and offered me his meal card in exchange for fetching him water. He'd said with that haughty look, "Take it. People like us, the wealthy, never let others work for free." Back then, I'd accepted without hesitation. If a rich kid wanted me to take his money, why wouldn't I? Now, I couldn't help but glance towards Wesley behind the partition. I wanted to tell him I didn't need to pinch pennies like before. During my senior year of college, I co-founded a small company with classmates, contributing my technical skills. I'd become financially independent over the past few years, which gave me the courage to quit my previous job and pursue the person I once felt was out of reach. There was so much I wanted to say, but the time and place were wrong. So I just gave Wesley a bright smile. He cared about me, he still noticed me. I felt like I could do this. I'd been working there for over half a month. One day, Wesley's schedule included an evening banquet. My heart fluttered with anticipation. As the time drew near, I finally had an excuse to go into his office. "Mr. Westwood, it's almost time for the banquet. Is there anything else you need prepared?" My eyes darted around. "Like, perhaps, picking up your date beforehand?" Wesley looked up from his documents and glanced at his watch. "What date?" "You're coming with me." The heavy stone in my chest lifted, and I let out a long sigh of relief. I had really thought he'd be going with Miss Langley, but my happiness was short-lived. Wesley took me directly to the banquet venue. I checked again just to be sure. "We're just going in like this. No hairstyling, no change of clothes." Wesley looked puzzled, glancing at my professional work suit. "It's just a work event, isn't this fine?" Then, realization dawned on him. A smile touched Wesley's lips. "Ah, so that's why you asked about a date. You didn't think you were my date, did you?" His smile deepened, radiating the smug satisfaction of someone who'd finally scored a point against their ex. "You're overthinking it. Stick close, little tag-along." I gritted my teeth in annoyance. Once inside, it was just as Wesley said, he was purely there for business. During my time at his company, I'd learned quite a bit. After finishing his studies abroad, Wesley had taken over the company directly from his father. Being young and heading a family business meant numerous relatives and old guards were watching him like hawks. He urgently needed to achieve something significant to solidify his position. After greeting various senior figures, Wesley sought out representatives from companies interested in potential collaborations. Things were going well until the young, successful CEO he was speaking with, a Mr. Julian Reynolds, suddenly remarked meaningfully, "CEO Westwood is truly young and promising, and this secretary by your side is quite beautiful and captivating." Wesley's face darkened instantly, and he moved to shield me behind him. "Apologies, something urgent came up. We have to leave." From behind him, I frantically tried to signal Julian Reynolds. Seeing Wesley about to walk away, I panicked and grabbed his arm. "We know each other, he's just joking." Julian's upturned, fox-like eyes widened innocently. "But Miss Sterling is very beautiful. Why so flustered, Mr. Westwood?" Wesley's expression was stern. "We were discussing business, and you suddenly started commenting on my secretary's appearance. My apologies, seems I misunderstood. So you know each other after all." Wesley continued slowly. "I thought perhaps it was harassment." A faint tension hung in the air, thick with unspoken animosity, until a female voice broke the silence. "Wesley, I finally found you." Approaching gracefully was, presumably, the legendary Miss Langley. She smiled sweetly. "You came to the banquet, why didn't you tell me?" Julian Reynolds chuckled. "Mr. Westwood, shall I take Miss Sterling aside for a moment? Give you and this young lady some space." I glared at Julian. How could I possibly leave now? Leaving the person I liked alone with a rival? Not a chance. Wesley glanced coolly at Miss Langley. "Why would I tell you? I don't think we have the kind of relationship that requires reporting my movements." He gently tugged my sleeve. "Let's go." Before leaving, I turned back and mouthed at Julian. "Just you wait. You're done for." Julian flinched slightly, looking guilty. Miss Langley, however, was still following us. Seeing Wesley ignore her, she turned to me. "I haven't seen you before. Are you new?" I nodded. Her eyes lit up. "Then you definitely haven't heard about Wesley, and me studying abroad together want to hear about it." I hesitated for a second. Honestly, I kind of did want to hear it. After all, there's often a gap between first-hand accounts and rumors. Just as I was about to agree, Wesley lost his patience. He stopped walking and looked first at me. "If there's anything you want to know, just ask me directly." Then his gaze shifted to Miss Langley. "Leela Langley, if you bother me again, I will call your family." Miss Langley looked aggrieved. "But my parents are the ones who told me to pursue you." Wesley was merciless. "Then I'll call the police. Because, frankly, this is harassment." Miss Langley didn't follow us further, just stood there looking blank and timid. The evening breeze rustled gently as Wesley and I exited, waiting for the driver to bring the car around. He tugged impatiently at his tie, muttering, "This banquet was a complete waste of time, so frustrating." I took a bottle of water from my bag, opened it, and handed it to him. "Calm down." He took a sip, then suddenly asked, "Are you very close with that Reynolds guy?" I thought for a moment. There didn't seem to be any reason to hide it. In college, some classmates and I started a small company. Some invested money, others contributed technical skills. Julian Reynolds was the biggest investor. He handles most of the business deals for the company. Wesley snorted softly. "Seems having Secretary Sterling at our company is truly a waste of your talents." I played along with his words, sighing, "Yeah, it does feel a bit beneath me." Before Wesley could scowl, I quickly added, "But if it helps me achieve my goal, then it's worth it." Wesley fell silent, not asking what my goal was. The car arrived, and he got in without a word. I knew he still harbored resentment. Even if there was no one else in his life, it didn't mean I would be easily forgiven. In the dim quiet of the backseat, I found his hand and gently held it. Wesley didn't pull away. Warmth radiated through the fabric of his suit trousers. I leaned closer, speaking in a voice only we could hear. "This time, how about I pursue you?" Wesley's lips moved, and after a long moment, he replied in a low voice. "How do I know you're not just playing me again this time?" I smiled. "Why do you always think the worst of me?" He accused me. "Because you were always awful to me. You always liked to provoke me, trick me." A thread of guilt tightened in my chest. I laced my fingers through his, holding his hand tightly. Words felt so inadequate, so all I could do was promise again and again. "I'm sorry. But this time, I'll prove myself with my actions." Wesley's caution was understandable. Back when I couldn't stand him, I'd pulled all sorts of mean tricks on him. And when I realized I'd actually fallen for Wesley, I got even worse. So many girls liked Wesley, despite his sharp tongue and bad temper. To stand out from the crowd, I came up with a truly diabolical plan: manipulating my scores. By then, we were in our second year of high school, and everyone was used to me being firmly in first place and Wesley being the perennial runner-up. I usually beat him by nearly 20 points, so he'd stopped trying so hard and wasn't as competitive with me anymore. When I implemented my plan, the gap between our scores quickly narrowed to less than 10 points. When the results came out, Wesley nudged me. "Were you sick during the exam?" I inwardly rejoiced, surprised that manipulating my scores could actually make Wesley show concern for me. Outwardly, though, I remained cool. "No, I wasn't sick. Isn't it normal for the gap between us to shrink now that we've chosen our specialized tracks?" I didn't want to pretend, but Wesley was notoriously dismissive of any girl who showed interest in him. The first time I did it, Wesley was thrilled. He was fired up, vowing to finally surpass me. The second time, Wesley was disappointed. He practically wore out his exam paper analyzing it, regretting he couldn't find just a few more points. The third time, the fourth time. The closest call was when I managed to score only 1 point higher than him. Wesley went ballistic. He cornered me after class, demanding, "Stella Sterling, are you deliberately messing with me?" I put on an innocent face, staunchly denying it. "Messing with you? I don't have time for that. I need to study." As soon as I turned away, I started snickering. If I couldn't be the girl he liked, I'd become the shadow he couldn't escape. Years later, Wesley would jolt awake from a dream, haunted by the girl whose total score was just 1 point higher than his. The thought made me chuckle even more, and I hadn't expected an additional, unexpected bonus from my score manipulation. During school breaks, I often went to the library. I liked the atmosphere, and occasionally I'd run into Wesley there. I didn't see him one particular day, but I wasn't too disappointed. After leaving the library, I went to help out at the nearby hot pot restaurant. My mom worked there and rented an apartment nearby so I could attend the better city school. I helped out whenever I had free time. While clearing tables, I heard Wesley's voice. "She's definitely doing it on purpose. Tell me, isn't she awful?" My eyebrows shot up. Well, talking about me with his friend. I was about to pop out and startle him. But before I could move, I heard his friend reply, "That's easy. Since the top student is a girl, all you need to do is flirt a little, mess with her focus." My heart skipped a beat. Wesley hesitated. "But she's really cold towards me. I don't think she likes me." "That's definitely because you've only treated her like a classmate before. Trust me, there isn't a girl you can't charm." It sounded so cheap. I felt a pang of disappointment, assuming Wesley would refuse. Sure enough, Wesley rejected it outright. "No way, that's too cruel. I can't play with her feelings like that. Why are you being so difficult? She messed with you first." Wesley was silent for a long moment. "Well, maybe I'll try." Back at school, Wesley actually stopped me after class, something he'd never done before. He turned his face away, avoiding eye contact, but held out his hand towards me. "I bought an extra ticket for the amusement park." His face flushed crimson as he finally managed the second half. "Want to go with me this weekend?" I took the ticket without hesitation. "Okay, fine," I thought. "I'll have a brief romance with the boy I have a crush on. No need to think about the differences between us, no need to think about the future. When he says it's over, we'll end it." I just hadn't expected back then that Wesley would actually end up falling genuinely in love with me. He didn't want to break up. By senior year, a crucial turning point in our lives was approaching. I knew Wesley planned to study abroad after graduation. I had never envisioned a future with Wesley. The distance and our vastly different family backgrounds were insurmountable obstacles between us. So, watching Wesley fall deeper and deeper for me, I started to panic. This needed to be resolved quickly, without affecting either of our college entrance exams. During the winter break of our senior year, I initiated the breakup. To completely extinguish any hope Wesley might have, my words were swift, precise, and brutal. First sentence: "Let's break up. I know you only started dating me to try and surpass my grades." Before he could even respond, I followed up with the second: "But you don't need to feel too guilty, because I knew why you asked me out from the start. I was just playing along too." Third sentence: "Also, yes, manipulating my scores before was deliberate. I won't do it anymore." The college entrance exams were next semester. I couldn't afford to hold back my abilities any longer. 3 sentences, enough to shatter a young man's heart. From then on, Wesley and I maintained a frosty distance. After graduation, I lost all contact with him. I thought my rationality had successfully controlled my emotions, that this brief relationship would become a cherished, sweet memory. I thought I'd handled it perfectly, that both Wesley and I would move on to better things. It wasn't until later, tossing and turning night after night, that I realized, damn it, the plan was for him to remember me forever. Instead, I was the one who couldn't forget him. Debts from the past always come due. Now, trying to win Wesley back, I was even willing to be his secretary. I was that desperate. Taking advantage of a moment when Wesley looked tired from reading documents, I finally asked the question that had been burning inside me. I pulled up the screenshot of the suspected starry sky photo again. I asked humbly, "Mr. Westwood, what does this picture mean?" Wesley took a sip of his milk and, with a meaningful look, told me a story. Once upon a time, there was a demon abandoned by a girl from the shore. The first year after being abandoned, he thought he must become so outstanding, so famous, that the girl would regret leaving him. The second year after being abandoned, he missed the girl. He secretly thought that if the girl ever reached out to him, he would definitely agree to get back together. The demon unblocked her and posted this picture, visible only to her, on his feed. For a whole year, the girl ignored it. Furious, the demon blocked her again. This was the third year after being abandoned. He swore that if he ever saw the girl again, he would make her pay, torture her. Wesley asked softly, "After hearing this story, Miss Sterling, have you learned anything?" Got it. It was too late for a simple reconciliation request. More wooing was required. How much had I missed by never checking his social media? I immediately understood and made my move. "Mr. Westwood, the restaurant accidentally booked an extra seat. Would you like to join me after work?" The tactic was so familiar it made a vein throb in Wesley's temple. "Stella Sterling, are you trying to make fun of me again?" I protested my innocence loudly. Hey, this is the only way I've ever been pursued. I don't know any other moves. Wesley scoffed. Who are you kidding? Plenty of guys wanted to ask you out in high school. There was Liam Quinn and Zach Smith from our class, and that guy from the class next door. Seeing Wesley about to launch into a roll call of potential rivals, I quickly interjected. What if my heart only ever had room for my first love? Wesley finally stopped talking and slowly broke into a smile. He said, "All right then. I'll go with you." The shift in dynamic between Wesley and me didn't escape the notice of the office gossips. My friend, the office's prime gossip source, was the first to probe. "Stella, you and the CEO?" I kept it simple. "Not together yet, I'm still pursuing him. We knew each other before, he's my ex-boyfriend." My friend's jaw dropped. Oh my God, since I'd said it, I didn't mind if it spread. Firstly, I was here to win him back and didn't plan on staying long anyway, so I didn't care what people said. Secondly, I had my own possessive streak. Even though I hadn't won him back yet, there was no harm in marking my territory early. Leela Langley showed up at the company again, apparently possessing her own intelligence network. She looked at me like I was some kind of strange creature. "So you're Wesley's ex-girlfriend." The collective spirit of gossip in the office was practically vibrating. Wesley closed the blinds, blocking the eager eyes. He looked exasperated. "Why are you here again? Didn't I tell security downstairs not to let you in?" Leela looked smug. "Never mind how, I have my ways." Her smugness faded, replaced by seriousness. "Wesley, how could you get back together with your ex? Didn't you say there was no reconciliation with your ex, only revenge?" Wesley's expression turned grim. "When did I say that? Stop spreading rumors." Leela earnestly fiddled with her phone, showing it to us. "You did say it." It was another social media screenshot, time-stamped 7 years ago, which would have been Wesley's freshman year of college. "Ex-girlfriend, I hate you. Between us, there is no reconciliation, only revenge." I couldn't help but chuckle. Wesley glared darkly at Leela. "Looks like I really do need to call the police on you." Leela flinched, her voice weakening. "Do you absolutely have to get back with your ex? Can't you be with me? This is the task my family gave me." Wesley refused flatly. "Don't even think about it. Not causing trouble for you is already a courtesy based on our family's relationship." How could I have such a ridiculous rival? Seeing she couldn't persuade Wesley, Leela turned to me. "Secretary Sterling, don't get back together with Wesley. You can't help him, but my family can." I asked, "Did your family teach you to say that too?" She nodded. I resisted the urge to pat her head. "But I can help him. The latest partnership the company secured, that was thanks to my connections." After Wesley and Julian spat that day, I'd given Julian a piece of my mind and finally finalized the deal. I reconnected a broken link. How was that not helping? I advised her, if you still want to follow your family's orders, maybe try taking over your family's company first before coming after Wesley. Leela looked hopefully at Wesley. "So if I take over my family's company, Wesley, will you be with me then?" Wesley replied coldly, "By the time you manage that, Stella Sterling and I will already be married." This time, Leela looked genuinely heartbroken. She left, sobbing. I looked at Wesley. "Married?" His face belatedly flushed red, but he tried to maintain his bravado. "What? Is that not allowed?" I didn't want to tease him anymore. My heart just felt that Wesley was both pitiable and adorable. I perched on the edge of his desk and cupped his face. "How did you forgive me so quickly?" Wesley whispered. "I forgave you long ago. I've been taking care of your virtual farm chickens again for a long time now." I knew it. "You never log on to check them." Thank goodness the blinds were closed. I dared to press a kiss onto Wesley's cheek. "Sorry, thanks for speaking up for the chickens. I'll pay more attention to the chickens from now on. And more importantly, of course, I'll pay more attention to you." 11 The day Wesley and I officially got back together, I resigned. Although reluctance flickered in his eyes, he signed the approval form. "We won't keep Secretary Sterling wasting her talents here. I know you don't actually like being a secretary." He added warily, "You didn't spit in the milk you brought me when you were tired from work, did you?" I shot him a look. Now that we were back together, I felt bolder. "Why would I reward you like that?" Wesley blushed again. "Stella Sterling, where did you learn to talk like that?" I didn't answer, just leaned in and planted several kisses on his lips. "Tell me, isn't this a reward? Practice makes perfect." Wesley was left speechless. I returned to my own turf. Hello, everyone. I'm back from my vacation. My team visibly trembled. One brave soul in the office shakily raised his hand, forcing a smile. Boss, didn't you already take all your vacation time for the next few years? Why not rest a bit longer? I beamed. Because I finished what I needed to do ahead of schedule, of course. Glancing around at the others' desks, I smiled knowingly. Unlike some people who only work when the deadline is looming, how's the project progress? Show me later. A collective groan filled the office. I didn't want to push them too hard. I have good news for you all. In a little while, I might be taking wedding leave. I'll treat you all to celebratory drinks then. Having dropped that bombshell, I left with a pleasant smile. Yes, Wesley and I had decided to register our marriage soon after meeting each other's parents. It was Wesley's suggestion, and I had no objections. We needed to speed things up. After all, we'd missed so many years. The day before we were scheduled to register, Wesley was still working late. He said he wanted to clear as much work as possible before taking time off. When I went to pick him up late that night, Wesley had fallen asleep at his desk. He slept restlessly, his brow furrowed, murmuring something. I leaned closer to listen. He said, "Stella." Suddenly, I remembered our youth, the sun shining brightly, Wesley getting frustrated over a difficult problem. He'd suddenly muttered, "Stella Sterling." I happened to be walking back with water and heard him. Intrigued, I tilted my head close and asked, "What?" It had made him blush furiously. Now I gently smoothed the crease between his eyebrows. I whispered softly, "I'm here." Tomorrow, we would register our marriage. From now on, I would always be here. While Wesley slept, I remembered the story he told me and found a pen and paper. I felt his story was incomplete, so I decided to write the ending here. Continuing from where we left off. In the 7th year after being abandoned, the demon finally saw the girl from the shore again. He didn't know that she had missed him all along too. Although the demon spoke of torturing her, he forgave her easily. The girl also swore to love the demon dearly and never abandon him again. They would sign a pact, a bond ensuring they would never be separated. In the nth year after being abandoned, also the nth year of the demon and the girl's reconciliation. Bound by their pact, the demon and the girl shared their lives, growing old together until their hair turned white. Under the brilliant sunshine, they walked hand in hand down the street, smiling. And so, the demon and the girl from the shore lived happily ever after. The end.